the stage now. I'm ready to rage now. I feel like an animal stuck in a cage and I'm ready to break out. My time, my time. None of you people can tell me to stop. This time, like the last time, you better get ready to race to the top. I'm ready to do this, show you what the truth is. I step on the field, it's time to get real. I'm feeling so ruthless. My time. None of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down. Hand over my crown. Hand over my heart. I do this for my town. I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time. None of you people can tell me to stop. Yeah. So what are you afraid of? Those feelings are made of. Get in the game, your moment of fame. Show them what you made of. It's time that we stand up. It's time that we man up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up. My time. Nothing can keep me from reaching the top. This time, like the last time, I'm moving so fast, I'm ready to ride. I'm ready to throw down. It's time for the showdown. I'm ready to rise. Don't be surprised, I'll take on the world now. My time. None of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down. Hand over my crown. Hand over my heart. I do this for my town. I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time. None of you people can tell me to stop. My time. None of you people can tell me to stop. My town, my crown. We know what it takes to be reaching the top. We're reaching the top. We're reaching the top. We know what it takes to be reaching the top. My time. None of you people can tell me to stop. My town, my crown. We know what it takes to be reaching the top. We're reaching the top. We're reaching the top. We know what it takes to be reaching the top. Lower the lights down. Hand over my crown. Hand over my heart. I do this for my town. I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time. None of you people can tell me to stop. Turning the track up. I'll never go back down. Hand over my heart. I do this for my...
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rhythm, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get involved!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, here we go! Oh no!
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
At the start of the season, Auto Club Speedway put on one of the best races SimSpeed TV has ever presented. Now we head to Michigan, and just like Auto Club, it's a 2-mile wide open, flat out ride around the oval that, well, should put on just as good of a race. Either way, really looking forward to seeing what sort of racing we get out on the race track today. This is SimSpeed TV covering the NASCAR iRacing series live on the iRacing Esports Network. My name is Ryan Jones, and alongside of me, Justin Prince. Behind the scenes, of course, is Jay Kennedy. Justin, a few things to look forward to today. Not only the racing we might see, but the new damage model in effect as well for the first time in the series.
Yes, indeed. A lot of these drivers are getting used to that throughout the week with the Cup cars and some of the other NAS competitions on Wednesday and Thursday. And let me tell you, a lot of drivers have been nervous about it, especially for tonight's race, because of the severity of some of the damage. It can be tricky to keep your car clean, especially if you make door-to-door or bumper-to-bumper contact. Expect a lot of fierce battling regardless, though, Ryan, because they've been going 3-4 wide on a lot of these runs here at Michigan, trying to fight for the race lead. It's going to be a wild one tonight, especially since it's the cloudiest session these drivers have had to deal with the entire week. Most teams have been practicing in the sun time.
Yeah, it is a very overcast, which you'll see in a moment once our director decides to load into the session. But we've got a very good field as well. A lot of quality drivers. So Casey Kerwin, Kane Cook, to list a few of our Coca-Cola Series drivers, Michael Gariglia as well. Justin. Ashton Crowder. So we've got a few very good drivers. The rest of the field are some of the top I-rated drivers in iRacing as well, of course. This is top split of the Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time slot. And because it's so 2 miles long and so big and wide, there's so many different lanes you can take through the corners, which is why we see that 3 wide, even 4 wide racing. And it's basically, I guess, if you will, a mini Daytona or Talladega, Justin.
Yeah, mind you, it's a 2-mile circuit, but as we've seen at Auto Club, it can be really bunched up. It's not as dramatic compared to back at Auto Club, should note, though, with the tire adjustments that have been made since that race. But with the clouds, it might become like that. And it might cause a lot of pressure for a lot of these drivers in 3-4 wide situations as talked about. They're going to have to be smart with how they make passes, because if you take too long trying to make a move and be side by side, Ryan, you can lose at least a second a lap alone in the draft to the front. Track position also going to be very crucial because it can take several laps to recover from one mistake that loses you track position. If you start, say, in the 20s, it might take you until lap 25-ish, unless you have the best car in the field, to cut your way back up into the top 10 at least.
Qualifying's been run and done, by the way. And we've got our starting grid for the race, and they're going to start to grid up now. This is how they will line up. 17 drivers put down times. Broyd Hogan and Blake Neer on the front row. Garrett Maines and Vicente Salas on row 2. James Mullins and Robert Miller on the third row. The grid ahead of Jonathan Hernandez and Eddie Kerner in 7th and 8th. Patrick Moose and Randall Fawkes, your top 10.
11th spot tonight goes to J.D. Willis. 38 flat for him in qualifying. David Lamb starts in 12th, with Chris Wilhite in 13th position. Wesley Pistol starts in 14th, with Matt Forkpaw in 15th for Lowline Racing. His teammate Spencer Burns starts in 16th. Mason Tessier, the last qualifier. The rest of the field all set by provisionals. Keep in mind, these drivers are shuffled a bit, about 18th on back. Right now, that lineup, for example, is Casey Kerwin, Thomas Axum, Michael Gariglia inside the top 20 compared to what's listed up on screen.
Yeah, some of those drivers behind them as well. Jose Solis Jr., who we've seen almost every week. Justin Levine, another regular to the series. We've seen Eduardo Oliveira and Joshua Campbell multiple times. Ashton Crowder, who's, of course, become a winner in the Coca-Cola Series at Darlington, I believe it was. Just correct me if I'm wrong. Last season. He'll be starting at a 30th place. Kane Cook as well, off the back of the grid in 35th. 35 cars Only 100 laps. It's going to go by very quickly here under the cloudy skies in Michigan. Whether it's 30... Well, despite the cloudy skies, the track temp's still 34 degrees, which is in Fahrenheit. Either way, it's not relatively cold, Justin. 93 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's still very cool track temp, mind you, from what some of the drivers have been used to, where it's been 105 to 110 in the Wednesday and Thursday races we talked about a little bit, Ryan. So a lot of these cars are going to be very quick and tight. Many competitors have definitely had to peel off a lot of their tape that they might have had on their setups, because if you get too hot in the temps here, it's not as simple as just holding the clutch like it's, say, Kansas, and you're able to cool on down. Here, if you do that, you're passed by 5-6 drivers. These cars are going to be full throttle in the short run, and you do not want to sacrifice any positions or any runs in this race today with the 34-degree track temp and 94-degree total Fahrenheit temp on that track.
Pretty sure a little bit of sun just poked out as a rode out of pit lane as well, just to, you know, shake things up a little bit more. Dynamic sky as well, of course, here in iRacing, just to add to the realism, so those clouds are going to move and change over the course of the race, and drivers are going to have to contend with varying track grip over the course of this one. In terms of pit strategy, Justin.
That's going to be very interesting, Ryan, because here's something to keep in mind. Depending on the gear, you can potentially stretch it to a one-stopper. That was a talking point at Auto Club, mind you. However, that's going to be thrown a bit out the window with how freezing cold this track is and how quick the speeds are going to be. And most teams are going to be trying the two-stopper if it stays green for drivers. To utilize that variation of strategy is going to be the key. Remember, Michigan is known for its tendency of long green flag runs, Ryan, with how wide the track surface is here.
It certainly is. Getting ready for 100 laps at Michigan. Let's go racing as a green flag flies, and we're underway in the NASCAR iRacing Series. It's a good jump for Garrett Maines from third place. He will lead them at the stripe on lap number 1. Boyd Hogan in second. Vicente Salas down low. Blake Neer up there as well. With the top 4 running side by side. The rest of the field single file behind them.
Very clean start. A few drivers got really shuffled out, especially Eddie Carter. He's off the pace with a technical issue. The rest of the field, though, perfect start. Expect a lot of back and forth, though, because Garrett Maines and Vicente Salas going to be working a lot together for this race. They've been shuffling back and forth in the pack throughout races throughout the week.
And already see the style of racing we're going to see over the course of this one. How close these drivers are. The slipstream, massive. Of course, only running 550 horsepower. And a lot of downforce being generated. So a massive air in the massive hole in the air being punched by these NASCAR Cup cars is allowing guys to jump right up. Boyd Hogan gets down to the inside of Garrett Maines. He takes that spot away, and Maines will have a hole to slot down into behind him, ahead of Salas. So Hogan back to the lead.
Yeah, but look right here, the 20 machine has been working with Maines every single race they have been together. Expect them to try and go back and forth for this front. Here's the move again.
Like a switcheroo out front, Hogan takes it, and Maines takes it back in similar fashion in the very next corner. Look at Robert Miller getting into the action now in 6th place. He joins the fight. Down the inside of Blake Neer. 2x2 behind the race leader.
And it's looking like the Nexus cars have worked a little bit on their cars a little bit compared to earlier in the week. They were strong on the short run in previous NIS events here at Michigan, but today they're hoping to get that mid-run speed because lots of the drivers inside that top 5 outside of Miller pulled off and away by as much as 3 seconds just yesterday running on a hotter track. Not going to be as easy today, especially with that hole in the air on the spoiler, but already Maines and his fellow teammate Salas, they're putting themselves in a good position to try and draft away and pull away, but the problem is no one else behind them wants that to happen and is continuing to shuffle around.
At this point, most of the field is still in touch with each other. As you go down the order, you're starting to see some gaps forming, but the top 10 is still incredibly condensed. Casey Kerwin was in that 10th spot. He's starting to make his way through the order after starting from 18th. He's up into 9th now, and he's going to make it 8th as he gets to the inside of Patrick Moose.
We were talking about this. Some teams may have elected today to use this race as a chance to feel how the cars may have changed with the new build. Remember, on top of the new damage model, they adjusted how the tires respond. They adjusted how the track responds to the sun and the dynamic track, as well as a couple other adjustments to the Super Speedway package. Some of those things were seen in action today as Hogan again wants the point.
Well, the side drafting as well, that was adjusted on some of the cars, making it, well, I would assume, a little bit more powerful. So this is a very good example of how you might be able to utilize that. You're wide open, generating those runs by side drafting the other car and slowing them down is a big factor on a track like this. See if that comes into play at any point today. Stuck wheel to wheel now, Boyd Hogan and Garrett Maines. Dragging Robert Miller with him.
It is nowhere for Miller to take the run to go, but back to the conversation point of the side draft. That was made to be a major effect, in fact, for drivers throughout the week. Some drivers have been willing to use it, try and get to that quarter panel and slow the driver front down, like right there with Maines. Others, they've been more cautious and patient about it, trying to slowly feel it out. Maines has been one of the more active drivers in using the side draft.
Sun beats down on the track. Overhead as Robert Miller gives a good push to Boyd Hogan. That might give him a run to get clear, but he's still on the longest route around of the circuit. This is the dangers of this little track. It's easy to get stuck in a side-by-side loop like this when no one gains on the other. The car behind can start to get impatient. Miller doing his best to push his favoured person forward. It seems that is Boyd Hogan at the moment. But again, it's still not happening. He lifted off there on the entry to 3. He falls back to Salas. Salas opts not to push. He's going to go down to the bottom. So now they might run 2x2 behind as well, though he just backs out of it there, Justin.
Yeah, again, just nowhere to take the run. And this is one of the main things to think about is being patient and having race management with this type of race. There's nowhere to take the run. It's not as simple as, oh, go 3 wide. Here's the thing, it's lap 10. Drivers do not like that this early in the race, to say the very least. Everybody else behind is just letting the top 2 fight it out and see how they set up the rhythm before they decide. And they're still scrapping like cats and dogs up at the front.
Maines finally clears him. Hogan immediately tucked down behind him. He looks back up top for a fraction of a second, and Robert Miller filled the hole. Maines, his rear end struggling, trying to step out at him that time. Hogan taking the air away from him up on that top side, running him tight.
And the more they go side by side like this, the more it slows down the entire front pack, mind you. The drivers in the second group of Kerwin and Co., they've been running about a 10th or so quicker a lap compared to the lead group. If you go single file, you can run away. With Maines and Boyd just fighting like they are, they've not been able to settle in like that. And here comes Salas now to give the push to Maines.
James Mullins started 5th, dropped early. He's back up there now in the leading group. Jonathan Hernandez coming as well. Some of our biggest movers are starting to get close. Guys like Casey Kerwin. Daniel Wilborn is up 11, 12 spots too. Ashton Crowder, a little bit further back, is up from 30th to 17th.
Yeah, a lot of those drivers, I think, kept it safe just in case anything happened at the start of the race and just elected to stay at the back. Now the natural raw pace has been bringing them forward through the field. But the further back you go, the longer it's going to take to be in that lead pack. And right now, there's still a lot of clean space. And Hernandez loose at the bottom of the racetrack, just lost touch to the lead pack.
Gonna drop a bunch of spots down that back straight. Will slot back in line. It'll be behind Jose Solis Jr., so he drops outside of the top 10 now as a result of that. And it's very tight for 10th place. Randall Forks on the inside of Wilborn, with Kerwin just behind two. They were almost 3 wide down the back straight. Kerwin with a lot of pace, but at the moment running into that issue of having nowhere to go, so to speak.
And at this point now, the side-by-side at the head of the second group is going to slow them on down. That's Randall Folks side-by-side with Wilborn. And still side-by-side, mind you, 2 rows deep at the front of the field. By the way, they're about to reach traffic in a little bit here. We were talking, you may have seen that car flipping and flopping around. That's Matthew Furkaba, who had some trouble in the first couple laps of the race. Got moved up into the wall, trying to go for a move at the bottom side. Just look at how much that back TV panel is flipping around in the air. He's off the pace by a second or 2 a lap.
The good news with this track being so wide, it should be relatively easy to get by them, but he might produce some dirty air that affects one of your leaders when they get within that range. Trying to side draft now, Boyd Hogan. Trying to run mains very tight to his inside. They're still stuck in this loop, running door to door. 2,000 separating with the line that time. That was the final lap. That'd be very tight. Salas and near almost coming into contact behind as well. Oh, that's a mistake for mains. Car slides. In fact, Hogan was sliding as well.
These drivers are absolutely having some fun. They're talking about that on the driver's channel. But here comes Maines now having a run. I think some of the tires are starting to give out just a little bit, and this drafting partner having a technical issue in behind.
The left car stays up and out of the way. See if they make it through turn 2 this time without breaking loose and almost wrecking in front of the field. They do at least that. 300 kilometers an hour, 200 miles an hour down that back straight. And the caution comes out for the first time today.
Cook. Kane Cook from 23rd position, lost the back end and the whole run in 1 and 2, and just snapped it back up across the racetrack and brought out the caution.
The simulation replay will show you what happened to him. Out of the corner, around she goes, overcorrected. But the tank slap from the end eventually locks it down and brings out that yellow flag on lap 18 of this one. Going to see everyone come down for fresh tires and fuel here.
And now officially, it is a stretch 1 stopper, realistic 2 stopper. But many drivers were expecting a few caution flags. Mind you, I think Cook was just trying to keep the car straight. That's what he talked about to his fellow competitors just moments ago. Now it's going to get interesting, intriguing how the rest of this race plays out with how crazy it's been up at the front. And this puts a lot of some of the top drivers we were talking about before in contention once more. Crowder was in the second group, Levine in the second group, Daniel Wilborn in the second group, Sellis Jr. and Kerwin are also in the second group, and Hernandez now has a chance to be back in the lead pack after he dropped several positions after his bobble off turn 2.
So down a pit road comes Garrett Maines, dragging everybody with him. for Carper will get the lucky dog and get himself back on the lead lap with that rear bumper still desperately hanging on.
Oh, and Boyd overran his pit box, Ryan. That's going to lose him some spots here.
Watch the race off pit road here, and you'll see exactly how many spots he loses. Maines rolls off first by a comfortable margin. Blake Neer is second. Salas third. Hogan rolls off fourth. And Chase Mullins fifth.
Yeah, Hogan overran his pit box by a couple of seconds overall, in total pit stop time lost. Ended up having 40 seconds in the pit lane. The fastest drivers, just 38 seconds for comparison's sake in the lane. By the way, here's something to also consider for the big tracks such as this, Ryan. They have shortened the distance of the caution flag periods. So that means a lot of the lap down cars come down with the lead lap cars, and it's essentially a 2-to-go situation. Here's the tricky part for the lucky dog. It puts a lot of pressure for them to make their service and then catch up to the field in time before they get to the restart.
Still the best addition to an iRacing update, I think, ever. How long have we been calling for shorter cautions? Because such a big track, and of course pace car speed is relatively low, it does take a long time. Especially if you do that back-to-back cautions, no one pits, you end up pacing for quite some time out there. And we'll see whether we get lights out this time by on the iRacing.com pace car, even. One to go, so we'll go back at racing this time. See some cars rolling off pit road. Now they'll have to get back around to the rear end of the field.
And remember, Forkapah has to let everybody go, and because of how quick the cautions are, because it was already 2 to go, he can't technically come in for pit service. If he does take 4 tires and fuel, or even tries to fix that TV panel, he's going to at least not catch up to the back of the field and be in the same situation again. So it puts the lucky dog in a tough situation at the moment, Ryan, with the quicker caution flags. We'll see how these drivers adapt as the race goes on, though, coming to 80 to go.
So Blake Neer is going to be starting from second place again, just like the start of the race. See if he can get a better launch and maybe challenge for the lead, because he just fell off running about third or fourth for most of that stint. Boyd Hogan going to be outside of row 2. Vicente Salas down low. Garrett Maines from position number 1 for the first time after his great launch, and has not fallen from the front 2 spots all race long so far. Going to be heading back to the green flag, just under a quarter race distance in this one. Let's go back racing in Michigan. The green flag are back out. And they're going to launch for your inside line.
That's the advantage of having teammates on that line, though, Ryan. Be able to have the exact count. It gives a little bit of an extra hesitation to the cars on the outside who don't have that count, mind you, in Neer and Hogan. Already top 6 single file down, and a big bobble for Miller.
They were 3 wide behind him, as Justin Levine and Casey Kerwin tried to get through quickly on the guys the top side. That was Patrick Moose and J.D. Willis up top. And it's a big stack up of cars, 3 wide behind them as well. Jose Solis Jr. right up against the fence. He's got Wilford in the middle of him. Ryan Coon down low as well as this falls back. That's tight on the entry to 1.
That was a little bit of a squeeze, maybe trying to force the thread of the needle. Kerwin's really quick on the short run, already inside the top 5 with the pass down the back straightaway. I think he's the fastest car in the draft at the moment. Faster than the lead pack.
He's found a big burst of speed. And here he comes again, looking for another spot. Uses as much of the slipstream as he can on Boyd Hogan. Goes by him, thanks to Blake Neer, giving him a massive hole to run in. And Neer breaks sideways through 1, struggling for grip. He's going to fall backwards here.
I think he was trying to let Kerwin go, knowing how quick that Jordan-branded car is right now. But the thing is, when he lifted off the gas, it took the load off the tires. When that happens, you bobble around and snap loose. That's, I think, what just happened with Near, and now he's getting freight trained on the bottom.
He's got Robert Miller behind, and you gave him a good shot. Back up to speed, but Miller dumps him, takes him 3 wide. The squeeze is on there. That's Mullins down to the bottom side as they both wash up the track, and Nia has to dive up top a little bit. And down on the bottom, JD Willis goes for a slide. He catches it as Levine goes right down now to take him 3 wide to the inside.
Emotion starting to boil through already on this restart. Again, 3 wide in the pack. Willis wants his spots back, willing to take Randall Falk's 3.
Kane Cook starting to make his way forward. He gets to the back of Jonathan Hernandez. That was almost an ugly push. And he's up top, struggling for grip. He falls back now. Willis falls back on the bottom side too. Kane Cook picks up 2 spots after starting from dead last, up inside the top 10.
Yeah, that middle pack is really nerve-wracking at this point for a driver at this point. They're continuing to just shuffle around back and forth in that group. At this point, if I'm a driver, I want to get away from that and try and get as forward as I can to those drivers who are all single file up at the front. Main's to the point.
Yeah, meanwhile up front, Garrett Maines has continued to lead this one, but Casey Kerwin, here he comes. He's now up into 2nd place, and he's charging. Doesn't look like he's going to stop anytime soon as he edges closer in the rear view mirror of Maines. Not much you can do to defend here on this track. Well, Kerwin's charge is now just halted a little bit.
Denny Hamlin Esports Machine, though, has the advantage of the draft, and the discussion point in real life when the Cup Series went to Auto Club is drivers have 2 options. Take the run to the back bumper of the car in front, or use that run to make it pass. That time, Kerwin elected to go with the rare 3rd option, electing to keep it calm and not push the issue. Miller, though, starting to push the issue. He's got to run in the bottom side into 3.
He will go by Vicente Salas there. And Boyd Hogan is going to come through as well. Hogan struggling to get through the field after leading this one with Maines earlier when they ran door-to-door for most of the first stint. Now caught in some dirty air.
I think Hogan, here's the thing though, Ryan, part of me on that one is Boyd's strategy a lot of the times in races is he likes to be patient, likes to save his tires for the first 5-10 laps and starts to push. He has been one of the fastest cars I've seen be able to utilize that. He's just, I think, allowing Maines, Miller, now Kerwin as well to go back and forth up the front. Then when he feels comfortable, start pushing forward again and pushing the pace once again. Remember, these drivers I talked about, it's a stretch 1 stop on the fuel. You have to make sure the tires can make it to that 1 stop.
Robert Miller just put himself back into 2nd. Casey Kerwin now looking like he might be starting to fade as Salas going to come by him. And look at them all ready to go by as he goes right down to the inside. 3 wide again, this time for 2nd. And oh no, in the middle! Almost losing it. Robert Miller hangs onto it, but only just.
Damaged the right front fender, however, Miller did, so that might really affect him. That is at least 20+ seconds of damage now on the Toyota Camry for him. See that damage right there, Ryan, right on the right front. If you get any major damage like that, it's like a parachute on your car. Makes it difficult to maintain straight line speed, and just now is pushing further back. You can see it especially in the corners way up the racetrack. As that's gone on, Boyd's gone up to 3rd position, Ryan.
He has. And they're battling behind. Casey Kerwin's faded back to 5th place now. So he's starting to go backwards. Look at that stack up of cars. Everyone under a blanket here as they run 3 wide further back. Let's ride Kuhn up on the top.
And Kuhn talked a little bit with him before the start of this race on his own for building setups at the moment. He's actually done a pretty solid job with this car, it appears, though, keeping it top 10 at the time, being a plus 25 from the drop of the green flag for the 72. And with the damage to Miller, might make it a plus 26 in a moment here. Looking like he prefers the top line to make passes since that bottom group can be fairly loose on the long run.
The duo are back together now as Hogan climbs to second. He will now go to the outside of Garrett Maines. It's just like stint number 1. They're door-to-door for the lead of the race, Hogan and Maines.
Difference is, though, Ryan, Boyd's been able to save his tires. We've seen him in the middle of the lead pack for 5-10 laps. Question's going to be how much would help, and they've got lap traffic to deal with. Mason Tessier moving right out of the way in the 12 machine, and Hogan just drives on by on the top.
Can't quite clear him. Maines now an opportunity to take the air off him, and he does. Side drafts him hard, and that sucks him backwards. Maines generates a run. Does look like the side draft is a lot more powerful than it was pre-update, JP.
Extremely powerful. It's like real life just about now with the side draft and door-to-door contact.
That's the danger to side drafting. Very easy to do that if you both go to side draft at the same time. You can come together and make contact. And often you don't quite get away with it like they did there. Gotta be careful.
I think Hogan thought he...
Kerwin's back to 8th place. What's happened to him?
It's almost like the same thing that happened to last stint. About 10-15 laps into the run, Kerwin's tires started going off, and he slipped back from the top 5 to about 14th position, and we talked about before the yellow. That car seems to be scary, scary bad right now with the lap one run. Very loose. Kerwin just bobbing in front of the second group.
Your top 5 have a slight breakaway here. Half a second ahead of everyone else, 2 by 2, with Daniel Wilborn just sitting in 5th. 6 and 7 starting to close in. That's Mullins and Kuhn. But definitely 2 distinct packs now starting to form.
And that contact before, I think before, was the contact Boyd might have thought before Maines was going to the apron. Wasn't that time, and now Maines, he's not given as much space since that contact now. Starting to use some of that emotion on the racetrack, and this could be scary.
As the run goes on, the tires start to fade. Wow, that is tight between those top 3 there for a second, heading into 3. As the tires start to fade, that's when the car starts to slide, and that's when you need a little bit of room to gather it up, but the driver's not going to offer that up very easily, and that's when those mistakes can happen. As Levine is now getting in the mix, he was to the inside, he switches around with Salas. Almost contacting the one that time to the top 2.
Maines still giving a bit of a squeeze along that top line. Hogan nearly tapped the wall down the back straightaway. Even though they've been side by side, they've been quicker now than that second grouping of drivers now by a good 0.3 of a second. Everyone on screen are your quickest cars on the track.
They're really pulling away now, your top 8. 2.6 seconds back to Randall Fawkes and Ashton Crowder in 9th and the rest of the pack. Big margin is formed as Hogan finally gets clear and they go single file in the top 2 spots for the first time in a long time and immediately defending down the back straight.
Well, he knows, though, that Maines has a teammate behind him who can give him a push to try and swap back. That's been a constant theme throughout the week. I think Hogan's made it clear he wants to be in the lead and wants things to calm down. Maines, he's willing to push the issue, and everybody else is just waiting to see what happens with the fireworks show, especially with Wilborn, Mullins, all being quick, along with Levine, Kuhn, and Neer all in this lead pack.
Wilborn had a horrible run there, lost all of his momentum out of turn 2 and really checked up Levine. Dropped a bunch of time to top 3 drivers, who, surprise, surprise, side by side again.
It lost them some time. 3 wide for the race lead.
How does this work out? Up on the very top, struggling on the bottom was Willis, and Maines got very tight to the left side. That was a little bit dicey. And just like that, here come the rest of them again. Salas now having to cover off from Wilborn.
The reason it got so loose there for Salas is if you go below the first seam here, Ryan, high downforce or low downforce, it's like black ice down there. It dances the car around the whole entire corner. That's why drivers have been trying to ride that first seam instead of going all the way down to the yellow line. We've seen the reason with Salas. And the higher you go, the better the runs off the corners, as we're seeing so far.
Of course, can't run all the way up on top of the racetrack because you'll lose so much to the cars on the bottom, running a much longer distance around the corner. These 3 work together, they could pull away from the field. Certainly look like they've got the pace to do it, but I don't think working together is in their minds at the moment, because Maines back to challenge on board with Salas.
You can just see how much he's having to saw the wheel behind. I think Salas is starting to think about that, but Maines is still thinking he wants to be the lead car in all of this. Still trying to push the 96 up the track.
Getting close to half race distance, lap 42 of 100 here. Here comes the run. Salas gonna thread the needle. Takes him 3 wide again. This time he goes to the middle, and he's got a great run to boot. Down into turn 1, he pokes his nose out in front. Salas to the front.
I don't know if this is going to be for long, though. Again, Hogan's been so good down on the back straightaway and on the high line, especially in 1 and 2. But Maines now trying to draft. Everybody else now is starting to fight a little bit, and they're now closing back in to make it another big scrap. Crowder's closed in and joined the back of the group too, Ryan.
The second group is coming with momentum. Maines, that was tight, but he got there, pulling the same move as Salas. Salas falls back. Look at Mullins now. Levine up there as well on the very high side of the track. Gonna pitch Mullins down through 2. Starting to get real tight up top.
I think Mullins started to push tight a little bit, nearly hit Levine up into the wall. It's around the point where the trends have shown caution flags throughout the week. No one wants that to be up at the front of the group, though, with how aggressive it's been up there.
And again, the look to the outside for Hogan. Looks like his preferred wide in this race. But he's never quite able to just get it done. He's always side by side for a long time with Maines before he clears him. There's someone further back lost a whole head of steam through 1 and 2 that time.
Yeah, these cars are really dancing around, still side by side for the lead. They're 3 wide now at the back end of the top 10. And all of the shuffling again, we talked about the more they fight, the more it slows everyone down. Willis is now within the draft of the leaders. Moose is now in the pack. Folks and Seth Ryder are also back within drafting range too.
Levine with a run takes it to the bottom of Mullins. Takes it away. And Ashton Crowder. Here he comes up inside the top 5. Crowder joins the party.
What a run for the Vernon Klugerman Esports driver, to say the very least. To drive his way up to the pack. One of the quickest cars at this point, at plus 26 in near contact.
Was very close. And Levine gonna drop a bunch.
Yeah, Crowder nearly pushed right up into his left front. Really had to back off the gas. But here comes Crowder now for P3.
On the inside of Boyd Hogan, look at the speed that Crowder's carrying. He has got a lot of pace under the hood of that Toyota Camry. Slides up into line. Top 5 or single file now. Plus 26. The Burton Kligerman Esports, man. Rest of your top 5 started inside the top 5. Now challenging for second.
Crowder's definitely got the raw pace. Just couldn't get enough of a draft in front, though, to get to the quarter panel, but did show the nose. Question's going to be, will Salas give it up easily? No. Forcing both of them to get off the gas as the lap car comes out of the pit lane.
That's Michael Guerrilla. He's going to stick his car on the bottom. Force everyone up top by him. And going to get caught out, Ashton Crowder. Really is going to have more pace here than these guys. He should get back by him. Crowder knows that, and he tucks into his slipstream.
Guerrilla, mind you, had some engine damage. Got hit from the back end off the last restart. Just spent a full minute in the pit lane fixing that engine damage, and right there you can see just the difference in the tires. On fresh tires, you can go 38 seconds. These cars are running in the 40.5s at the moment at the front of the field.
We're at half race distance, lap 50 of 100 here on the NASCAR iRacing Series, the iRacing Esports Network. What a show they're putting on for us here in Top Split.
It's been a heck of a race so far, Ryan, with lots of back and forth up at the front. Again, back and forth for the race lead, though Salas now wants to take it away from Mains up at the point. All well, fourth is still back and forth.
Here comes Crowder to the inside. Salas backs out of it. Crowder backs out of it too. But he had some momentum there. He will take second spot away. Out of turn 2, he had a massive run on both Mains and Salas. Took it all the way to the inside. But all the way down to the bottom, especially as his tires start to wear. Not able to carry as much speed as he would have liked.
I think Salas, though, went for an aggressive side draft off the corner. Another big bobble. And a couple different drivers just bumped off the wall. Already apologies coming from the battle for second.
Justin Levine hit the wall.
And that was coming off turn 2 in the side-by-side with Mullins just pushed up the track after a big bobble. And now that slowed him up a bit. Curious to see how much damage is affected now on that Toyota Camry for him. But Hogan now wants to push again. Mind you, we're just approaching the pit window in the next 6 to 8 laps.
Who will blink first? You pit first, you get the undercut, but you're going to be fading late on in the run if we stay green.
That's a tough question. It comes down, I think, Ryan, to how many people you have committed on your strategy. Because if you can draft together and break away from the pack, if you're faster on the short run, I think that might be the difference between winning and losing the race. If you go in on your own on an undercut, you're going to lose tons and tons of time in that pit lane, at least a couple seconds a lap. So you can't just come in alone. You have to be able to coordinate with teammates or fellow allies to figure out when you want to pit. It's going to be curious, though, to see if anyone elects to try and come down as a whole entire pack, or if we see these little team allies come together here. Big bobble off of turn 4 for Crowder.
Salas goes to push him. Mullins wants to capitalize. Not gonna happen. Crowder with the big run through 1 and 2. Here he comes. It's on Garrett Maines. Looking low. Going low. For your race lead. Ashton Crowder now. And he gets him through 3 for the first time today. Ashton Crowder leads in Michigan.
The Seltman Crowder machine definitely has the pace to try and make moves such as this. Now it's going to be the test. Once pit stops are completed, will that speed carry over once they're on fresh tires to try and pull it away? He looks like he's the fastest car now in the long run.
The issue is, even with that pace, it looks like he has so much of the lap spent at full throttle. Almost impossible to pull a big enough margin to break free of that slipstreaming range that drags everyone with him. Maines struggled out of 4 that time. Salas now is showing some patience. He's giving drivers a push instead of trying to get by them. And that push gave a massive turn of speed to Maines, but he wasn't able to carry it as far as Crowder could. As soon as he got to the inside, he really slowed up there as his line was compromised.
Yeah, as we've seen, you need to be on the high side. On that second or third groove to try and make passes, in my opinion. You can make it work on the bottom side in turn 1 and 2. You can maybe make it work if you're tight enough in 3 and 4. But essentially, you need to force the driver below you to check up and be able to power the gas harder. That's been the case for a couple of the passes. Maines now forced up on the top side.
When do you think we're going to see most of these drivers in here, Jeffy?
Again, the max you can go is around 48 to 50 laps, depending on your gear package. Remember, there are 2 different types of gears you can select with these cars here at Michigan. Many of the teams going with the lower gear. Remember, one gear is quicker, yes, on the short run, and has higher RPMs, but burns more fuel. The other, maybe a bit more bogged down, but it could also save the fuel a bit better. It comes down to what these teams have elected to set up their cars with for this particular race tonight.
Remember, we pitted on lap 20. We went restarting with 20 laps in. Pit stops are at lap 19, so it's been about 40 laps. Should see everyone in the lane in the next 10 laps or so.
At the very most.
Starting to calm down now. Your top 3 have got a bit of a gap between them. And they're starting to pull away any of the guys behind as they run side by side. Hogan and Nia at the moment.
Looking like Hogan's starting to fall off just a little bit here. Maybe trying to stretch or line up with Nier. They have been working together throughout the week. Levine also lined up in this grouping, so I think right now some of the Legacy Esports machines in their allies are now trying to line up so they can all come together and try and draft together. That's the way it's lining up.
Well, it is like Daytona then. It's exactly what you do at Daytona. When you come to pit lane, you come with help or teammates. Because if you lose that draft, you lose a lot of time. We'll see how this shakes out. Down on the pit road, number 15. A few drivers pitting this lap.
Some of the Euro cars, some of the Nexus machines all coming down to the pit lane here for the undercut. They were in the 15s though. Still, they're trying to hope they can get that massive undercut at some of the drivers who may stretch it here, it looks like.
Your top 10 all staying out this time. Look how tight it is for fourth place at the moment between Mullins and Hogan, almost banging doors into one. Mullins down low. Hogan swooping around the outside as they navigate by the cars coming out of pit road down to the apron as well. They're going to start to come back by these guys in a second. Those fresh tyres are going to be very, very powerful for the ones that have pitted already.
It's going to complicate things here for pit stops.
Out the side.
Whoa! He tried to fire out Crowder and nearly got crashed by a couple drivers on fresh tires. What a crazy decision.
He wanted to come to pit road, but all those guys on fresh tires were right behind him. Kerwin just avoided that car. That's one of the dangers of coming to pit road. Kerwin was not happy with that. Looks like Salas gonna come this time. Garrett Maines with.
Not a lot of cars though in that draft. Looks like some of the Legacy machines trying to make sure they have the freshest tires. Keep in mind, this was a call that worked at Atlanta in the Coke Series for a fella and some of his fellow teammates in that race. Was able to gain a lot of time and grow the gap to break what was a long drought in that series, Ryan. I think they're trying to go the same thing. In fact, pit calls coming in now from Bobby Dale Earnhardt's Legacy Esports cars.
Hogan brings it. Levine comes with him. Kerner stays out. So Eddie Kerner will lead this race now. One of the few drivers yet to make their final scheduled stop. Along with Patrick Moose, Ryan Kuhn, Kane Cook, Jose Solis Jr., David Lamb, Wesley Pistol as well.
Here he's coming in this in time by Ryan. And the Bird with a construction helmet. He's been building his path back up to the front all race. Several times. He's bobbled on the bottom of the racetrack and lost all his track position. He was the fastest car on the track in the final 5 laps before pit stops.
Casey Kerwin's your provisional race leader here. And he's side by side with James Mullins. They're racing hard for what should be the lead of the race once it all pans out. And Vicente Salas is in there as well. Austin Edstrom. Where's he come from? He's up there with these guys. In fact, Crowder's out ahead of them. Wilborn's out. There's actually a couple guys ahead of these who've pitted. Wilborn and Crowder.
They timed up that pit sequence perfectly, especially Crowder. Remember, a bit fresher tires than Wilborn. And Kerwin with a massive bobble coming off the corner just lost touch to the lead pack.
Where did Maines and Hogan shake out? Because they were the two that are up the front for most of this one. Garrett Maines is way back.
Maines is right in that grouping with Moas and Co.
Yeah.
But some of the air cars are still 6 seconds behind the Legacy Esports machines. That 2 seconds of fall-off coming into play. I think they're hoping, though, that it all bounces back. Might you remember, Kerwin was a part of that undercut group in, I think that's some severe damage on the left rear. Yes, that's really hurting this car.
That explains why Kerwin's falling, dropping like a rock. That damage really affecting him.
Looking back at the footage, has had that for a fair bit, at least since lap 40. That car, though, it's like a parachute, but Main's now up to P6. Net P4, Solis Jr. is in, Burns also coming in.
It's starting to close up now for the race lead. Crowder, Mullins, and Wilborn, the top three. Garrett Maines closing in on them now in fourth. There they are. As they go by the cars on pit road, they take the lead of the race.
I don't think this race is over yet, though, Ryan. There's still a lot of laps. But as well, Maines is quick. Wilborn's been fairly quick. Salas has been quick. And there are drivers on couple lap fresher tires who are slowly closing on in a few tenths a lap that are 6 seconds behind. So I'm really curious how this all plays out. Crowder's been smart on strategy in the past. Maines has been someone who can push and really close gaps. We're about to see how this all plays out here these next 31 laps.
Ooh, that looked tight. Coming to the line that time. Casey Kerwin slots down to pit road. So he's going to come to get some of that damage repaired, and that's going to be a big shame for him. He's going to be hoping for a caution here before he goes a lap down. Top four, covered by 3/4 of a second. Daniel Wilborn in the picture too with J.D. Willis and Austin Edstrom. Then the gap back to Seth Ryder and everyone else. Your top seven breaking away by 2 seconds.
I think the pack to keep an eye on, though, still was around P11 on back. Those are some of the drivers on the freshest tires. They've been gaining now 4/10 of a lap. If you go back, that's where Kerner's trying to break away with Cook. Then behind them, Levine's leading the grouping of Hernandez with Underground, Near with his team, Moose with the Nexus, Hogan as well in that draft. All trying to close up to these two cars. If this goes green, they might have a strong chance to make it a heck of a battle at the finish. If there's a caution, you're panicking as a driver.
I would not put my money on a late caution here. On most things with NASCAR racing, you always seem to get a late caution, don't you, Justin? And there's a few reasons for that.
Yeah, the differences in tires is one possibility that causes a lot of cautions. The aggression level goes up a ton when you know you're good on fuel. But as well, just driver fatigue mistakes also come in, and that really shakes up how this race goes. Here's the thing, a lot of these competitors have been spread apart on the racetrack, except for that grouping that is now 5th on back. Hogan back all the way in 13th position after being as high as the race lead on this run.
Guess who at the front? Garrett Maines to second, dragging Salas with him. Top four clear of the field now by quite some margin. Look at the run that he gets. Riding on board from the rear bumper of Ashton Crowder's Toyota. Maines and Salas have been working well together the last few laps to get up to this leading two cars, making it a leading quartet. They're 3 seconds clear of Kerner and Cohen, 6 on back.
definitely coordinated when it comes to Salas and Maines, mind you. They've been trying to stay lined up. They've been trying to push one another. Maines has already got one NIS victory throughout the week here at Michigan. He's looking to add another to his trophy case here, Ryan. He's been consistently one of the fastest cars. Here's the thing, though, again. Crowder's been able to save the tires better for the end of the run compared to the others. Big bobble for Maines off the corner.
There's some frustrated people over the radio in Sim at the moment. Eddie Kerner desperate looking for a partner out there to help him along. Here comes Maines to the outside for the lead of the race, trying to take it back away. Crowder not going to give it up. 25 laps to go.
Definitely not going to make it easy here. Salas, though, giving the push to Maines here.
And he clears him down into 3. Salas trying to follow, but can't quite get that same speed up. He's stuck on the outside. And he's being pinched up against the wall. Crowder leaving no room. May have actually worked the side draft against his favor there by doing that, actually.
A bit loose for Crowder off the corner. This has been a trend throughout the week. If you were side by side, that car dances around in 1 and 2, and we just seen it from Crowder. That forces him back to 3rd. By the way, we talked about that bird with the construction helmet in the Neonism machine, the 7 of Kerner. Your LCQC champion, he's a-coming. 1/10 of a second quicker than the leaders last time by. Check that 3/10. From what we're seeing, these drivers getting really physical up at the front. I think the top 3 are some of the quickest cars, but add Kerner and the rest of the drivers on fresh tires to the mix. This is about to get even more hectic in the next 5 to 6 laps.
Certainly is. Going to be a 5-car scrap because Eddie Kerner is closing at a rate of knots. Fastest driver on the track at the moment, it looks like.
Yeah, ran in our 39.9. He was talking on the radio. He wanted someone to draft with him. It was Cook before, but Cook started to fall off. I think Kerner, though, just got a bit of draft because he's now within range of Mullins and company. If you are inside that top 4, you're wondering, what can that Ford Mustang behind him do? Because every time he's been up inside this situation today, Ryan, that car's either had a technical issue, danced off the corner, or nearly spun out.
Yeah, it's been a rough ride so far, but as we get down to the final quarter of the race, you start to forget everything that's happened to you thus far, and you're focusing on that final lap, trying to be in the right spot at the right time as he gets within a second now.
It's going to be a massive draft down the back straightaway from Kerner. The part that's going to come down to driver skill is where he takes that run. We've seen if you just take it to the bottom 9 times out of 10 today, it hasn't worked or stuck in 1 and 2. I think he needs to find a way to peel Mullins and the rest of the cars one by one off the wall to be able to move up into the race lead.
Where do you want to be heading into the last couple laps? Do you want to be the leader? Do you want to be a car or so back, Justin?
Still, though, I think Kerner's in a great spot. Just needs to play it smart. If you just try and shove it down to the bottom of the racetrack, you're not going to make it work. You have to be tactile and smart. Here comes Kerner. He now wants to run, and Mullis is giving it to him. That's a teammate letting him go.
So Kerner up into 4th with no challenge from Mullins. The teammates working together here. Kerner's the one who's got all the pace at the moment. But what can he do with it? Not going to be so easy now as he gets really close to the left rear of Salas.
Kerner's taking advantage of that checkup, though. Crowder now trying to block.
But he's going to get there. To the inside. Down into 1. Should clear him here. Crowder throws it in on the outside. Try to keep the momentum up. Keep his car alongside. And it's going to work well for him. He's going to get the slipstream as well from Salas as they bang doors out of turn 2.
And I think that actually put a hole in the door of the 31 car a little bit. They're really playing around with the throttle in this side-by-side. I think that squeeze just got him.
You can see how much more aggressive the drivers are being now, not willing to give any room. As, oh, that's a bit of a hit, and that's damage to Kerner's car. Crowder into the back of him there through 2.
That's a little bit of the frustration back for the squeeze off of 4. We give our bumpers the question. If I'm Kerner, I run.
That was tight. Crowder had a bobble, and it caused Kerner to get a bit loose as well. He just tagged the fence. Dragged the right start against that safer barrier. Didn't cost him too much, but he's got to be very careful about what he's doing. Doesn't want to slow his car up with damage here.
Really playing the patience game here. Here's the problem. Crowder's trying to play the aggression game to keep within range. He's been really using that side draft, trying to hold on to a 3rd place run here.
Look at Maine trying to shake the draft on Salas as well. He's starting to look to defend. Crowder almost does get into the left rear of Kerner again.
Oh, and this time it gave damage. That is going to be huge for Kerner. Even that little bit of damage is 25 seconds. That is now a parachute on the back end of Kerner with that dent.
James Mullins watching on in 5th. Hoping they don't come together in a big way in front of him. I think Kerner might be fine at the moment. Doesn't look too bad. But he's got to get clear of Crowder. Maines again, snaking his way down the back straight. He clears him, slides across the nose.
They're really demolishing their cars right now in that battle for 3rd. Another bit of a slide and tap.
Now he's clear. Can he get up to the top 2? Because Mullins is going to challenge Crowder. That's where Crowder's focus shifts now. As Mullins squeezes to his outside.
I think Mullins now knows this is his time to go, especially with how Crowder's been driving on this final 15-20 laps. He's been saving this entire run, being nice and patient. His fellow teammate Kerner He's got the damage that's hurting him, his ability to suck back up to the top 2.
Crowder defended down the back straight. Mullins just squeezed to his inside. And they made contact at 3. Mullins with a big wobble.
And the tempers really starting to boil over up in the front group. This might make it a good runaway for the top 2, and they're starting to clutch and coast a little bit in the corner. I think they're really starting to try and save the tires. Remember, there is the factor of the ability to underfuel the car to give yourself less fuel in the tank. Salas, I think, is trying to go for that clutch and coast to try and cool down the tires and just make sure he's good on the fuel if there's a GWC.
Don't forget, we have 3 attempts at a green light checker as well, should we need it. And that's just extra laps you got to do on the caution and on the green that could use up fuel. The drivers that pitted very early in this final stint might get a little bit of pressure if we get there. But with 10 laps to go, they're hoping we stay green now, because at the moment it's a forecast scrap, maybe 5. If the caution comes out. Caution's out!
Caution!
Well, if a caution comes out, to finish my point, it drags the whole field into contention. That's exactly what's going to happen now.
Well, that just threw everything out the window and then some. Wilborn and Near door baiting coming off of turn 2. Looked to us though Wilborn and the ERG machine pushed right up the track and just doored the Neon machine of Near straight into the fence. And they're sliding down the back straightaway. Trigger the caution right here. Bit of snap of oversteer, pushes right up. Near was given a bit of the squeeze, but still, that changes everything, and now it becomes even more crazy.
You couldn't script it, Justin. We've got a caution with 9 laps to go. Everyone now in with a shout with the way this package works. This is anyone's game. There's 24 on the lead lap. Now, do you pit or do you stay out? That's the question. If you're Garrett Maines, you're screwed either way, I think. If you stay out, if he stays out, the field's going to come. If he comes in, someone's going to stay out. I think they've been out there long enough that you have to come.
Yeah.
So he comes down to pit road. Does anyone stay out? Doesn't look like it. They're all going to come.
You're not going to risk staying out on 31 lap-full tires in some cases for some of these cars. That is a recipe for having a big one.
Now the
question's going to be, though... I have, too, yes. It doesn't work, though, at Michigan, mind you. The gamble is going to be, does someone try 2? Because that also has been tried and has also been high risk, high reward.
The 2 tires stop. Does it come for anyone? The race off pit road. Garrett Maines will roll off first. Salas second. Crowder third. Mullins fourth. Wow, they were 3 wide for 5th. I don't know who got it. Might have been Kerner. Might have been Cook. Might have been Hogan.
And what I just mentioned, Ryan, too, a lot of these cars definitely not putting fuel back in the tank because they can make it on fuel we talked about with that under 50 to go mark. At this point, if you're many of these teams and you have the comfortability with it and the knowledge, you're definitely not putting fuel in the car and loosening it up as much as you can to make sure you're as fast as you can for this final run. Gonna come down to about 5 or 6 laps, give or take.
Yeah, this is going to be a crazy final run here, if it is our final run. Cautions breed cautions, we know that much. So they're going to have to be very wary and on their toes so that they don't start wrecking again. 5 laps is enough for people further back outside of what is generally the contending spots, the first 3 rows on a late race restart. It's long enough for them to come through. They can get some massive runs from back there.
They can, but here's the difficult part. You have to pass them. And as we've seen, it's not been as easy to do that. 1 to green, though, this time by. And appearing right now at the moment, 28 cars on the lead lap.
Well, this is going to be wild. A grandstand finish to conclude an absolute grandstand race. Once again, the 2-mile racetrack seems to be where this package shines. Auto Club and Michigan have put on some of the best races of the season. If we look back to Michigan, Auto Club, who was it that got that win? Because if they're up there contending, they might be in with a shout to potentially challenge.
That was Jeremy Allen, but remember,
He's
some of
not
the
in.
drivers who... Yeah, remember, some of the racers who were in that group of top 16 Coke drivers are in this pack. Crowder, Cook, and many others who had speed that day, they have a shot to come away with this victory.
Hold on. Get ready. This is going to be wild. Coming back to the green flag with 6 laps to go. Garrett Maines in control as the green flag flies. We're racing. Good start for Salas. Crowder tried a side draft already in third. Can't get there. Salas covers him.
Now the question is going to be with the race on the line, Ryan. If Salas tries to pass his teammate, or if he tries to help him. We've seen crazy things, and it looks like Maine's
Look
not
at
going to
that.
give him. Here comes Crowder.
Big switch to the bottom. Kane Cook in the middle of 3 behind him as well. Crowder aggressive to get to the inside of Salas down that back straight. Big move. Behind. Cook switches to the inside. Hogan up into the outside of Mullins. That was almost a wreck. Mullins gets to the right-hand door of Salas now. This is crazy.
Think Hogan's backing off. Don't think he's liking what he's seen here with the craziness. Salas now to the bottom for second.
Maine still trying to cover. Something's got to give. But where is it going to give? Coming back to 4 to go. Mullins almost into the left-hand side of Crowder. That's as close as you'll ever see. There was nothing between the quarter panels there. Eddie Curter is locked to the back bumper of Kane Cook. Look at this, an absolute mess of cars. There's more contact.
And Cook's not going to like that. Here comes the bump.
Contact, and they're wrecking.
Well, there go the Coke drivers.
I saw that coming from a mile off. I think we all did.
Yeah, there was no way Cook was going to stand for Mullins not only bowling his way to the bottom of the racetrack, but shoving Cook nearly to the grass. I could see him going right for them, and they're still having some contact and some axle problems for the 19.
Well, yeah. A lot of good cars torn up there. We'll look at a replay. Thanks to Modern Simulation. It started down to the inside. The squeeze was on. Just started to wash off the track, and there was no margin for that error. And poor old Ashton Crowder completely squeezed up under the fence.
Yeah. Just nowhere to go for Crowder. Some of the drivers are absolutely on the radio having a heart attack. Jonathan Hernandez said he had never turned the car hard left as he did right then to avoid some of that to get to the apron. And I think that was the 29, maybe, of Zach Hudson, who had nowhere to go and smacked his front nose off.
Yeah, there were a few very lucky escapes, and this was the late arrival for Hudson. Sees the cars up top. They're up top, so it's all good. He was extremely unlucky there. He expected them to step up against the wall, but rolled back down right into his path.
Yeah, the Nexus owner not going to be happy with that.
Pit stops. For a few, but most stay out.
We're in green-white checker territory time here, Ryan. So at this point, You're not pitting if you have a clean race car.
Yep.
And you're trying to hold on to track position. Here's the concern, though, for a couple drivers with the bumping and baiting. Hogan, with that door-to-door contact he had with Mullins, he ended up crushing in his right front fender, so that car immediately started dropping a couple tenths of a second as soon as that contact happened with the 96.
So the green-white checkered, how does it work for those that are new to NASCAR?
Well, it's simple. These drivers will get the green flag. You have to make it to the white flag for the race to be official. Next flag ends the race in that scenario. But if there's a caution flag before they get to the white flag, as close as you can to the start and finish without taking said white at the stripe, you trigger the second green-white checkered line. If it happens again, you go to a third. If there's a caution flag before they get to the white in the third attempt, that in turn means the race will end under caution and race is official then. Let's phrase this way though, Ryan. If you take the white flag, anything can happen, meaning if there is trouble on that last lap and you've already taken the white, you won't have a caution to save you.
Yeah. It's a race back to the checkered flag once that white flag comes out. And now, the lights are out on the pace car. Garrett Maines, restarting from the front, being there all race. Does he finish it off with a win? And there's a resurgence of late after getting a victory. Talladega has been very strong ever since, after falling just short all season before then. Salas been challenging all race. Eddie Kerner riding a high after recently picking up a big bounty in the last chance qualifier. Boyd Hogan looking for a victory. A lot of drivers that could do with the victory up here in the top six.
Yeah, some big-time confidence boosters for some of these drivers if they can come away with victories. Hogan's been working night in and night out to try and make sure there's speed for his respective cars. Kuhn's been trying to work on his own and put in fast cars and has been really strong. Stronger than I thought today. And Maines and Salas have been working together all at the front. This is going to go anyone's direction. In other words, if you have a run, expect a 3-4 wide down the front.
No one's going to lift off here. You have a run, you're taking it. Pace car going to dive down and get out of the way. And we're going to unleash the field. Green-white check at attempt number 1. NASCAR iRacing Series green flag back in the air.
No way the teammates lined up 1-2. Boyd Hogan, though, still stuck on the top line, though, third on back.
Top 5 get single file. Maines got to cover down this back straight. Drives it down the left-hand side as Salas pushes him. Kerner looking up top. Boyd Hogan up there as well. Down into 3. Everyone looking for some clean air. Their own line to run. Coming back to the white flag for one more lap in Michigan. Look at Kerner all the way up against the fence. Salas.
It's gonna get interesting.
Justin.
It's gonna get interesting now here. Does Salas stay with Maines, or does he ditch his fellow teammate down the front?
He's still glued to that bumper. Here comes Kerner to the inside. Look at that behind as Hogan tries to split the middle. They're almost 4 wide, but out of the corner, Garrett Maines is clear. Garrett Maines is going to win here in Michigan as they were 4 wide to the line for second place. Eddie Kerner picks up second, but that's victory number 2 for Maines, the NASCAR iRacing Series on a Friday night.
What a finish. What a race. What a heck of a battle. These drivers had some fun tonight, and it showed with some of these clean battles. What a finish.
Well, that's a finish that matches the race we had. Another absolute thriller to add to the list. here on the iRacing Esports Network. As Garrett Maines throws in the celebration donuts. We're going to go to a break here on the network. When we come back, we'll have your full results and interviews. Welcome back to the iRacing Esports Network. Here's your results of the end of an absolute cracker at Michigan. Garrett Maines got it by just 600ths of a second over Eddie Kerner. Vicente Salas back in third. Boyd Hogan and Justin Levine, your top five. Ryan Kuhn, JD Willis, David Lamb, Jonathan Hernandez, and Seth Ryder make it 10 cars under less than a second.
Spencer Burns coming home in 11th. Patrick Moose in 12th, with Will Height in 13th. Jose Salas Jr. in 14th. Austin Edstrom with a quiet run in 15th. Jose Pistol in 16th position. Hernando Oliveira recovers from a rough race yesterday in the NIS competition with a top 20 today in 17th. Johnny Baldridge brings one of the Lockhart Racing machines in 18th. Joe Krev brings his car in 19th. Randall Fox rounds out your top 20 tonight, Ryan.
Final cars on the lead lap with Jake Hickson, Joshua Campbell, Blake Neer, Thomas Axum, and Zach Hudson. Everyone else from 26 on back running into issues, starting with Ashton Crowder. You can see the screen on the rest of the field. Let's have a chat then to our race winner, Garrett Maines. The form of late has been outstanding. Getting another victory here on a Friday night. Congratulations.
I appreciate it, man. Just honestly, that was a crazy race, especially at the end.
Man, that was wild all race long, 2 and 3 wide for most of the running. In terms of heading into this race, what was the preparation like? Obviously, quite a bit of changes to the Cup car in terms of visually and under the hood as well. How much of a change was there for you in terms of what was different?
Yeah, a lot of things, changed this week, and with the damage model, it really changed the way you have to race these things. And you got the side drive now. That's a lot different than it used to be, and just everything about the way you used to race this car set up. I mean, the whole 9 yards, has really changed the way you have to race. Like me and Boyd were side by side there for I think it was 25 laps, or it was about 20. It was like till lap 25, and I mean nobody could get by us. Normally, if you do that, your tires are completely killed. But everything just seemed to have changed, and it completely brought out a different style of racing, especially here.
It certainly did. It's much like the Auto Club race we saw earlier in the season. In terms of your form, you were close but not close enough for most of the season. Up until Talladega, you finally broke through. Now you've got 2 in the space of about a month. Has anything changed behind the scenes for you, or has it just been a case of things have finally gone your way?
Well, it's actually funny you ask. The last 2 weeks, I don't know if last week was even broadcasted, but the last 2 weeks on a Friday, we actually pulled it off again. Um, I joined me and a few friends from my old team, got together, and we're on a new team together now. And we've actually had a lot of success. Hopefully, we can carry that on. Everybody's been putting the work in, and it's been a lot of fun just getting to hang out and work on setups together. That's a huge change.
Yeah, well, it's certainly been a good run for you. Next week, we go road course racing at Sonoma. Big change up, first one of the season. Confidence levels heading there?
So Sonoma is probably one of my least favorite road courses, but we're gonna see. Like with the lack of the spoiler this year, and the different tire model, and hopefully the damage model's fixed by then. But all that's gonna really play into effect. Hopefully, I can learn something about Sonoma and get a little bit better there and find some pace. But overall, I mean, I think setup knowledge wise, I think we'll be able to figure something out. And road course setups have never been a huge problem for us. But just got to thank everybody, that put in the work tonight. Michael Jeans, Seth Ryder, Vicente Salas, just everybody over at ESE. Got to thank Elliott Sadler for such a great opportunity to run for him. Got to thank Smithfield, 101 CBD, and everybody that makes it happen. Richmond Raceway as well, for all their support. And hopefully we can keep going this season and keep getting the wins and keep the speed up.
Hey, well, thanks for joining us, and best of luck for Sonoma. Good job today.
Appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
So that was Garrett Maines, your race winner. Justin, who have you got ready for the next one?
Standing by with third place finisher Vicente Salas, and throughout the race today, worked a lot with his fellow driver in Garrett Maines. He and him were hooked up like glue throughout this race tonight. Vicente, how does it feel to come away with the top 3 in this race?
It feels really, really good. First week as a new team, Elliott Sadler Esports, for us to come out here and finish strong, both of us. It feels really good.
So we have a name for that team indeed. But you and Garrett seem to have a plan. Whenever Maines was on the bottom of the lead, you followed suit. Whenever Maines fell back to second, you would help draft him back up to the front. Was that the strategy, or how was your game plan for tonight and throughout the entire week?
I think our game plan was to go in there, get the best result we could for the team, and whoever was in front or whoever was behind to just stay there and work together. Because at the end of the day, it matters that we all finish up there and that we all finish good. So we were just communicating, telling each other where, when, how to go about things, and we just kind of stayed hooked up there.
Overall, I want to also ask this real quickly. How was it trying to keep the flow of the race together? Because there was a long green flag run. It was one of the first races in overcast conditions. In previous races, you guys were hooked up in sun time, where there was a lot of more tire wear factor. What was kind of the adjustment period to adapt to everyone being more tightly packed together in the first 25?
I feel like we definitely had to focus more on track position there. Because of the cold, the speeds are amplified. I think the drop off is amplified as well. So if you could find yourself at the front after the course of that run, after green flag pit stops, if you hit it right, you'd be there at the end. And I think me and Garrett, and I think Eddie there, we were 1, 2, 3, and we found ourselves at the front before the pit stops and after the pit stops.
Next race, Sonoma. Your thoughts on going to road course racing? No, you're very strong on the road courses.
I am very, very excited. We've been putting in some work early. I've been doing some testing. Last time I raced a road course on the Cup car, I think was the Rovalin. We were pretty strong there, but overall, I'm excited. I think we'll have a good piece come next Friday.
Anyone you want to thank before I let you go?
I'd like to thank Michael the Ryder, Garrett, Gary Sexton, Elliott Sadler Esports, and just all the guys back there doing the work. Still a lot to do. I'm excited.
Congratulations on the run tonight.
Thank you, guys.
That was Vicente Salas coming home in third tonight. Believe you're standing by with our fourth place finisher as well, Ryan. That is Boyd Hogan coming away with a strong run.
Yeah, Boyd, welcome to the booth here on the SimSpeed TV and the iRacing Esports Network. It was a good run for you today, coming home in fourth in the end. Are you happy with that, or were you hoping for more?
I mean, kind of have to be happy with it at this point. The car was better than fourth, and we got to show it the first half of the race, and I mean, really up to when that last yellow came out, we were one of the fastest, if not the fastest car on the track. But at the end of the day, I mean, these races get hectic at the end, and so anytime you can bring it home top 5 is pretty solid, for sure.
Your battle with Garrett Maines was phenomenal for most of that race. As you mentioned, you were one of the fastest cars along with him, and you were stuck side by side for quite some time. How much was that affecting your car? Was it eating up the tires, or were you able to just stay side by side, not really lose too much?
Yeah, I mean, the longer that you're stuck up high, at any track, the longer you're in the outside lane, it's going to eat up your tires more than what it would if you're sitting back just riding or even just racing on the bottom. Like Garrett, I'm sure had much better tire wear just by being on the bottom, because there's just more grip there. Like, you have to have a good car just to make it work on the high side. And I mean, I was pretty happy to have made it work as long as what we did. And then I just kind of, after a little while, decided, get back, try to cool the tires off, and go back at it again.
Late race restarts, maybe it didn't quite work in your favor as much as it did for some other people. The racing at the end was so tight. How hard was it to actually try to get through the field, because a lot of blocking was happening, and just a case of needing to be in the right spot at the right time. Maybe you weren't quite in that right spot.
Not necessarily. It was the blocking. I didn't have to deal with too much. I think it's personally, I think it's a little bit of a respect factor with other drivers. I mean, I'm not usually on the aggressive side, so I don't mind giving up a spot or two earlier on, and they usually come back later on. And so, I mean, for the most part, you race with these guys week in and week out, and they kind of remember that stuff. So it wasn't too bad for me. I saw it happening with others. I even got doored just before Mullins and Ashton got in their wreck, and that hurt the right front a little bit. But I thought we were still going to have a little bit of a little something at the end. But unfortunately, you get teammates out front 1-2, and it's kind of premeditated on who's going to win that. So it's not the best dealing with that, and you got to do what you can with it. But at the end of the day, I just big thank you to everybody at Bobby Earnhardt's Legacy Esports, Buck Kicker, Abruzzi, GTR Simulator, Rogue Energy, Dustin Hall, everybody at Slip Angle. There's a lot of people that work on these cars, and I had a blast racing with Garrett. Had a blast racing tonight. It's a lot of fun. Still got a lot to learn on the tire model, but it was a good race. Just wish that people would make moves for wins at the end.
Hey, well, thank you for joining us, and best of luck next week going road course racing at Sonoma. Big change up from today at Michigan.
Yes, sir. That's going to be a time for sure. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Well, Justin, your final thoughts on this one?
Well, was hit upon by some of the drivers, an absolutely thrilling battle up at the front. Some crazy racing, some fun racing. I think Boyd definitely emphasized there. But in the end, it came down to teamwork, especially with the short run being the factor, and the drivers who wanted it the most ended up coming away with the victory tonight. In turn, big victory for brand new Elliott Sadler Esports tonight. Maines coming away with back-to-back Friday night victories, as he talked about. It's going to be wild, though, on the the road courses, though, next week, because that's a whole different animal at Sonoma.
Certainly is. If you want to be there and watch it, make sure you tune in at 9 p.m. Eastern Time next Friday night right here on the iRacing Esports Network. Make sure you subscribe and you can be sure that you don't miss it. Make sure you like us as well on SimSpeed Esports Network and SimSpeed TV on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Stay up to date with all of our latest broadcasts from all of us here. My name is Ryan Jones and Justin Prince alongside. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God. Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Section's very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go. Oh no.
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?